You're going to want to see the results of this. We're going to test every single one of these modifiers and see how they look on Miranda's face. It's June and time for another giveaway. Dynalight is sponsoring our giveaway with $1,000 worth of lighting equipment. We've got the MP400 pack and 2 of the MH2015 heads with the built-in reflectors. This is a great lighting kit with an umbrella thrown in and a timber case. Get over to Slanted Lens and sign up and try to win it. Hi, this is JP Morgan. Today on the Slanted Lens, we're going to take a look at modifiers. I've got Miranda here. She's beautiful, so it's going to be very easy to work with her. We're going to take each of the different modifiers, starting off with reflectors, from small to larger, to beauty dish, and then jump into all the softboxes and octodomes. I want to look at each and every one of them individually and get still shots using our Baja A6 that shows exactly what that modifier does, how hard it is, how soft it is, what the highlights are like in the eyes, and give us a comparison on each of those modifiers so we can have something to reference and to be able to figure out which one of these do we like best for what we're doing. For this test, we're using a Baja A6. Got it plugged into the wall here. The reason I'm using the Bajas and a strobe is because I want to see how these modifiers react to strobe light. The strobe light is going to be very different than a tungsten light or an LED light. So we're going to take a look at these in the strobe world. So we're using the Baja to make that happen for us. So in order to get rid of all of the white in here, we put 2 pieces of black foam core up to try to get rid of the reflections come back on her face from behind her, that wall back in there, and also the reflection that comes, the white that bounces out of the ceiling. We're trying to minimize that. I've got a light meter up. I'm going to take the light meter and just make sure that the power coming out of the box is the very same every single time. And that way, it's not about how much light comes through the modifier, it's about the quality of light that comes through the modifier. And that's what we're looking at, quality of light. Now, each of these may start to look the same to you. You may say, well, that 7-inch reflector doesn't look any different than the 10-inch, but the reality of that is there are other things that these modifiers do with regards to area of coverage and also softness versus hardness. And so we'll want to look at some of those things, and we may not see all those things in this test. This test doesn't tell us everything about the modifier, but it tells us about the quality of light. Okay, as I set this up, I'm going to put the front of the modifier 4 feet from her face. The reason I'm moving this light back and forth and keeping the front of the modifier 4 feet from her face is because if I put the modifiers on here and just leave the light always 4 feet from her face, some of these modifiers are going to come out this far and it's going to change the quality of light, the way it wraps around her face. It doesn't give us a true picture of how they compare to one another from 4 feet from the subject. They've got to be 4 feet away, and then we see how one wraps more or less than another, and it gives us a better idea of what the modifier is doing. If I let the modifier come forward on this, then it's changing the quality of light because of distance to subject. So we're going to quickly go through these modifiers and just click, click, click and see what they are. First modifier is the basic of all modifiers, and that is a 7-inch reflector. So 7-inch reflector. So we now have a 12-inch wide reflector, 12 inches deep. And this is probably going to be more bright. So back that up there for me. All right, so we're going to get that at f5.67. So that 12-inch reflector is 2 stops brighter than a 7-inch reflector. The background is much darker with this one, so it's a very narrow beam of light, which is beautiful. Now we're going to go to a Dynalight 14-inch reflector that's 9 inches deep. Let's see how that affects her face. And go ahead and test it for me, and go ahead, and up to 10ths. So now we have a beauty dish made by Dynalight. It's got a white cap in the front of it, which means the power is going to go way down. We'll have to probably bring it up at least a stop. So let's take a look at that. We're going to go to the beauty dish, the Mola, which is similar, kind of. This one, you're going to just have to hold it on there. It doesn't mount with this. So this is a small Octodome from Photoflex. I've always loved this light because it has a beautiful look, very similar look to a Mola beauty dish. And you can also put a grid on it. But so let's take a look at it and see how this compares to that Mola beauty dish. So there you go. So it's a bigger surface than that Mola beauty dish, which means it's going to wrap around her face a little better, just a little nicer. We're going to go to the medium Octodome now by Photoflex, and it's 57 inches. It's very large. We will not go to a large or an extra large. This is plenty large enough. So obviously the first thing that's going to happen with this is that we've got a modifier that's just going to look around the side of her face more. It's going to start to wrap. It's going to be much softer than what we've looked at this point. It just opens up the shadows a little bit. Fabulous. Fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. So next we're going to take a look at a 36-inch Parabolic from Dynalite. The reason I love these is they're silver lined, which gives you that really bright brightness in the skin, which is beautiful. But they're parabolic, which means the head sits back there a little ways, which means they're a little more defined, a little more narrow in their area of coverage. And you'll see that on the background here, which is really beautiful. So the next is a grand softbox, 47 inches. They're a parabolic. This is a great, it's a large but really fabulous light. We're now going to go to a series of softboxes. The first is a white-lined, small, extra small softbox from Photoflex. This should be a pretty hard light because it's a very small light source. Got it 4 feet away, and let's just see what it looks like. Our next softbox is a medium softbox from Photoflex. It's 32 by 23 inches, white-lined, and has a pretty light. Let's take a look at it. Our next is a medium softbox by Dynalite. Basically the same size as the last one we just looked at, but it has a silver lining versus a white lining. So when I say silver lining versus white lining, I'm talking about the entire lining of the box. So this one is all white, which gives us a different bounce in that. It's looking to me like, as I compare it, like size, is that it looks very similar in quality to me. I don't see that much difference. I gain about 1/3 of a stop to a 1/2 a stop, depending on the box. So here we go. Large white line softbox, Photoflex. This is going to be a big wrapping light. If I was using this softbox, I'd push it way out and let the edge of it sit here and let it wrap around her face. But for today, we're keeping it square on, so we get an equal look at each of these softboxes. Our next is a large softbox by Dynalite, much larger, again, silver lined. So let's take a look at what kind of light we get on our face with this. So we now have a 72-inch shoot-through umbrella. This is a really beautiful light because it just wraps. For both the umbrellas we're going to test today, we're using that 7-inch reflector to kind of keep the light defined, so it's just going to hit inside the umbrella, doesn't throw it up on the walls and everything else, so it just keeps it coming through the umbrella. I still have it back a little bit, which gives us some shadow side on her face. Beautiful light the way it wraps from camera left to camera right. This is a silver lined umbrella, and so we've flipped it around so we're bouncing light into it and back into our subject. So we'll take a look at what the highlights on her face look like from that silver lined umbrella. So there's a look at modifiers. Some of the things that I've learned in this are silver lines seem to be a little bit brighter, so you're getting a little better aperture, a little more light, but they don't necessarily change the quality of the light that much. There's just a little bit of kind of a brightness in the skin, in the pores you get with that silver line that you don't get with the white line. But they were very similar. The deeper reflectors just gave us a narrower beam of light because you saw it on the background, they didn't expose the background, didn't brighten the background. That beauty dish, that Mola beauty dish was beautiful, as always to be expected. The Mola is a little brighter and a little softer than the silver lined one from Dynalite, but they're very similar in looks and certainly an application for both of them. The 35-inch grand Parabolic I love because it's deep, controls the light, but gives you a great highlight on the face. I did see some color shift on them. It was very interesting. It certainly wasn't enough of a shift that would make a big difference in being able to correct it. It was easily done. So this is not meant to say one's best or better or right or wrong. It's meant to give you things to look at so you can go, oh, I like this for what I do. I like that. And you can make a decision for what you'd like to do. So check them out. Put in the comments below the things that you saw, the observations you made as you looked at the images. Anyway, so there's a look at modifiers. So keep those cameras rolling and keep on clicking. Our Mastering Studio Strobes download is meant to help you move into the world of strobes. It'll help you understand what platform works for you and the type of work that you do. So go to theslantlens.com where you can get the download today.
Subscribe to the Slanted Lens.
It'll protect you from aliens.
Like that one.